So I have a fear of flying. Well, it's really a fear of dying, but it really comes to the fore when I'm on an airplane. Takeoffs are horrible for me, but I can pretty much white knuckle it until we reach a cruising altitude, because that only takes about 15 or 20 minutes. But the thing that drives me insane is turbulence. I can't fully explain it because I am an engineer, but at an emotional level, I think this is it. It's over. My hands get really sweaty and I have to wipe them on my pants. I become a lapsed atheist. I say, like, you know, dear God, if you can just see me through this, I will fix the things in my life that I haven't fixed yet. You know, I just need to land safely. And I do land safely, and I still don't fix the thing, so that clearly doesn't work. So the only thing that really helps me in that moment, the only thing that brings me out of my head is talking. And not talking like this, but just talking to another human being. Because that social interaction helps me, it calms me down, because it gets me to focus on, you know, that other person and what they're saying, and I'm not thinking about that thin metal shell and the powerful forces that are happening just outside, you know, that are not things that I have any control over. So I meet a lot of strangers this way. And you know, I'm happy to do the listening. It just has to be that back and forth, that social interaction. There was this one flight, it was a red eye that I was taking from LA to Boston, and the pilot came on while we're still on the tarmac, and he explained that due to the severe weather on the West Coast, he was going to instruct the flight attendants to stay strapped in for the first hour or two of the flight, and that we shouldn't expect any service. I wasn't expecting survival at that point, so service was the least of my worries. And I turned to the woman sitting next to me and I said, I sure hope you're not planning on sleeping. And she was great, and she helped me and she talked me through, and it was thankfully like not even a full hour. And I thought that was bad until this other time. I was in Boston, I was on a flight for work. I was going from Boston to Atlanta. And we had pulled over, and the pilot explained that there had been a mechanical failure. And so somebody was going to come out from maintenance and fix the plane, you know, while we're on it, so before we take off. And you know, I'm thinking, you know, this is going to take a long time. And I was worried that they weren't going to fix it to my satisfaction. And I figured, well, I better get this over with. I better get started. And so I turned to the man sitting next to me, and I started engaging with him. And I found out that he was a black minister of an evangelical church in Atlanta, and I'm a white gay man with 2 black children in Cambridge. And I did not have enough self-respect at that moment to actually be completely honest with him about my family situation. Like, I did the whole, you know, sin of omission, I guess. I was raised Catholic. I just let him believe what he was going to believe. I didn't, you know, he knew that I was married, and I let him believe I was married to a woman, and he knew I had children, and he presumed that they were white. But as I thought about it, and as we're talking, and it's going to take a while, I realized that this was actually a good opportunity. Like, he is a complete and total stranger, and really the worst that would happen is we'd have just an socially uncomfortable flight to Atlanta. And that I should be able to engage with him, and I should be able to have this conversation. And so I did, and I opened up, and we were honest with each other. And it's kind of difficult to explain what it was like, but he was very polite. We absolutely did not agree, but he was very polite and respectful and told me what it was like from his point of view. And he told me that he did not approve of same-sex couples. He did not approve of us wanting our marriage rights. He certainly didn't approve of us having children. And I was able to tell him what it was like for me. And I knew I wasn't going to change his mind. He wasn't going to suddenly join me at a PFLAG meeting. And he wasn't going to change my mind, but we could talk. And he told me that it made him really uncomfortable, bordering on anger, that the gay and lesbian rights movement had co-opted the language of the civil rights struggle from the 1960s, as if there were any comparison. And I said, well, I certainly can't speak for everyone. I can only talk for myself. And I wouldn't want anyone to think that the struggles and the oppression that I face as a gay man is anything compared to hundreds of years of slavery. But if it's not civil rights, what language would you want us to use? And we continued talking, and he told me how he was a single dad. He told me that his daughter was born, and then shortly after that, his wife passed away. And so, he had to, as a single man, take care of a black child, a black female child on his own. And I said, well, I'm not on my own, but I actually do know what that's like, having a black daughter. And so I said, what do you do about the hair? And he said, excuse me? And I said, well, for me, it's such a time sink. I braid my daughter's hair, and I have to, unbraid it and comb it out and wash it and braid it. It, takes all weekend long. What do you do? And he said, I don't know how to braid my daughter's hair. Nobody ever taught me that. How did you learn that? And I was like, oh, well, a bunch of black women at my daughter's daycare took pity on me. And so I would braid up her hair, and she would go off to daycare, and it would come back rebraided. And so I'm an engineer. I would just take it apart really carefully and try to figure it out. And so I would braid it up again, and then it would come back rebraided. Essentially, I learned how to braid my daughter's hair remotely, just from being really careful and teasing it out. And he said, you braid your daughter's hair, you're all right. Thank you.